coming out, so he was worried that it could be some seals or something because the car sat for 8 or 9 years. It turns out it can also be your fuel pressure regulator, the diaphragm on the inside, in there. So just replaced that and reset the fuel pressure on it, fired it up. We were fighting a leak in that for a little bit, had to figure out with some O-rings. My dad said there's definitely a lot less smoke coming out now, so maybe the little bit that is still coming out, it's just stuff burning out because there was fuel sitting by the throttle body. So we did that, and while we had it on the lift, we recalibrated the air-fuel ratio, which right now, sitting here idling, is showing it's like 19 on both banks. But I revved it up about 3,000 RPM, and it had already dropped to like 13.0, so I'm thinking that's a good sign. I'm watching the engine cooling over there in the RPM, and before our check engine light, which is faintly illuminating, is completely gone now after recalibrating the AFR. So we'll see. I think I need to go back and play with the fuel table. I forgot how I did. I had to go back and look, but it pretty much got the delay out of the throttle, and right now hitting it, there's a slight delay back in there, so I might need to go back and figure out how I did that. But I think next is go drive around the block and see if it still dies out on us. Maybe between the O2 sensors and the fuel pressure diaphragm being ripped, that was giving us our drivability issues. But it sounds good. Hey Dad, you want to hit it a couple times? Just a little bit. Yeah. Just still faint, yeah. So you guys can probably see that. It's still just a little bit of smoke. It was definitely worse before though. It was worse before though. We were playing around with it's like the accelerator fuel table, because when you whack the throttle, there was a huge delay in this, and then that led us down the rabbit hole of finding that the diaphragm and the fuel pressure regulator was bad. It was kind of folded over itself, so we replaced that. And then I started playing with that table. The forums tell you to multiply that table by 1.2, and I'll show you guys that table here in a minute, but I did that probably 4 times. Air fuel ratio got way better, and the car actually quit smoking completely. So that gave us a little peace of mind. We try to recalibrate the O2 sensors because we're having issues with those. We're running the Innovate in here. And then, so we drove it a little bit. First gear it wasn't breaking up, but second and third gear around $3,000, it was breaking up pretty bad. And then, so it's just been nothing but research and trying to figure out and learn this Pro-M system so we can get my dad's car out to the track. So if you guys come over here to fuel and that cell enrichment and then the Lambda AE sensitivity throttle, it pulls up this graph. And if you check the forums, this is the graph they tell you to highlight. And it's pretty nice because you're able just to kind of drag, highlight all the numbers, double click, and then you can multiply. And I've just been multiplying it by 1.2 based off what the guys in the forum said. And things got a lot better. But they said they did it a couple times. I've done it 4 times now. And so now if I whack the throttle, it's above 1,000 RPM. It seems like it's like instantly responsive, but under it, it still has a hesitation in it. My problem is now is that the air fuel ratios, our gauge doesn't seem like it's really communicating with the Pro-M, because I'm trying to start the car and actually watch our air fuel ratio. However, my problem with that is when I do that, all it does is show 14.4, and I don't know why. I don't think that's the correct one. And I don't know why you don't see it moving at all. It's like whatever this value is, it is just set there. This is what happens when you let Subaru guys put headlights in Mustangs. Jalen got these lights for my dad's birthday, or for some reason, maybe Father's Day, I don't know. But now my dad's gonna have to go back and put them in right. I think you gotta kind of pull the whole bumper off to get them set in there correctly. So it's kind of just in there for now, so that will get fixed. All right, guys, so started raining, pulled the car in the back. We got the car pretty hot today with driving around and everything. So with that being said, when the fan kicked on, it's like the load of the fan was causing the car to stall out. So raise the RPM up to 1100, and then now when the fan kicks on, you can hardly even tell that it's bogging the car down. So that worked out. What I'm having issues with now is no matter what I do, I can't change or monitor the air fuel ratio. So I don't know if I'm gonna, what order these videos are gonna be posted in, but really too much progress hasn't been made on the Boss. We've been doing a lot of stuff to my dad's car, trying to get that Pro-M system figured out, and I think we are about there. So I was able to join a Pro-M support group on Facebook, and they said there's a guy named John in there who's going to help us out and end up tuning the car, because the last few adjustments that need to be made to the car, I'm actually locked out of the computer and I can't actually do. So first thing we're doing, I'll flip it around and show you guys. So we haven't ordered it yet, but we're getting rid of the Innovate Y bands, because everything I've read about how they work and everything, Innovate is trash. So we're gonna get rid of those. I think it's Zentronics, if that's how you say it correctly, is what we're gonna end up switching to. That we need to get rid of the, I can show you guys on the passenger side, the AEM standalone meth. John told us would not work with this because the Pro-M already has a built-in system. So if you guys can see our controller right down there, we can get rid of that. So that's why all the wires are out. But as far as the tank and the actual line that's going to spray the meth, all that stuff can stay, but there's no way for the standalone AEM to communicate with the Pro-M, so we have to run it through the Pro-M. So we have to change that. And then he told me that pulling out, I believe it was 2 degrees of timing per pound to boost that the car sing. I heard that was conservative to do to the tune, so that's what we set it in with the boost retard. And John said that the tune is pretty conservative already and we don't need to do that. So the only thing I can physically do to this car is add that timing back in. So we're at a standstill until my dad gets some parts on order, especially the Y bands, and then we'll be reaching out to John to tune the car. But I was able to get the car to quit breaking up. And the only reason why we didn't go out and get on it was because I didn't know how accurate the Y bands are, and I don't think they are. And then so we did that, and the car seems to be running pretty good now. So, but we have to have a way to cool it down because it's extremely hot. So Dad got the new windshield installed, so we gotta go back and put our trim in. LMR is currently out of stock on that. And then my dad is talking about actually getting fenders and a new hatch, because the Colorado hailstorms 3 or 4 years ago now beat it up pretty good. So he's thinking it might save him some money on body work if he just finds some panels and hatch that are in a decent shape. All right, guys, so back from the test drive, I had my dad drive it too. Seems like whatever issue we had with it breaking up around $3,000 has kind of fixed itself, but now it's breaking up around $445 just as the car starts pulling really hard. So that means it's either, I'm gonna say, the spark isn't strong enough, or there is a fuel issue, but I'm not sure which. So like I said, mentioned before, talking to the guy John, who is a former Pro-M engineer. I think he said he has 15 years experience of working with Pro-M. There's a couple fuel settings in the Pro-M that I am locked out of, so I can't make any adjustments to that. So the last thing I could physically do was add that timing back in it. The only thing we can actually do is upgrade the ignition coil on the firewall right there. So we're getting closer, at least, to everything that's in our control. But outside of doing the Y bands, I think we're gonna have to get John to go ahead and start tuning this thing, especially since we're locked out, and you have to contact Pro-M or John anyways, because they're the only ones who can make the adjustment to tell the Pro-M that it's not reading the Innovate gauges no more, that it's a different Y band in there. So that's about the update with my dad's car. We've been tinkering with this thing the last 2-3 weeks, and we got it pretty much as close as we can get it. So we'll probably pick this back up. We'll wrap this video up here, and then we'll probably pick it back up once we get the Zentronics, if I'm saying that right, once we get those Y bands in and install those.